Okay.
So we'll actually just head this way and then down the stairs, and we'll go through the winemaking process.
Yeah. 哦，它夏天会长到这么高。
就是刚才是拉线的那个位置。
对对对对。
So you just want to stand along here, and then I'll go through this process.
哦，他们做了一个图例来说明他们做酒的这个。
So I'll start with the reds first because our reds it's a little bit more complicated. As I mentioned, we're harvesting in the fall, usually October, sometimes November if the weather allows it. So the grapes are harvested, they go into a machine called the crusher. So this not only crushes the grapes, but it also removes the stems. That's important because the stems contain bitter compounds. And if they were crushed with the grapes, that bitterness would get into the wine and you wouldn't really enjoy it as much. From there, they go into a fermentation tank, and that's where yeast is added. So when the vines or grapes are growing in the summer, they develop sugars. When we add yeast, the sugar eats the yeast that's present and creates alcohol. You may notice here there's a bit of a pump going from the bottom, and then they're pumping it through the top. The reason that they're doing that with the red wines is because we're fermenting with skin contact. So they're going from the crusher with skins and everything into the tank. And the tannins in a red wine are all present within the skins that will float to the top, because when the yeast is fermenting or eating the sugar, it produces carbon dioxide, which causes the solids to sort of float to the top and sit there. And we want uniformity of tannins and flavor in our red wine, so we pump from the bottom and up to the top, and that sort of breaks the solids and evenly distributes it throughout the wine. From there, we take the grapes and we put them into this hydraulic press. So there's two cylindrical discs on either side like this, and they sort of crush in like this, and juice comes out the bottom. We have to be careful not to crush too hard because we do not want to break the seeds. Seeds, like the stems, contain a lot of bitter compounds that we don't want to get into our wine. Now this is where Nova Scotia red wines are unique. Is from the press we do a second fermentation, which is known as a malolactic fermentation. So present in the wine right now is known as malic acid, which is quite tart, similar to, you might imagine, as a green apple taste. We don't want that in our red wine, so we do this malolactic fermentation by converting that malic acid into lactic acid. And the way we do that is these tanks are double walled, so there's a little bit of space in between which we pump warmer water through, and that gently heats up the wine a little bit, which activates a bacteria present in the wine to convert that malic acid into lactic acid. Lactic acid is a lot softer and much more palatable. From there, we can do barrel aging, and that's up to the winemaker. Barrel aging does change the complexity of wine. They add oaky flavors, mainly smoke. They also do add some tannins. We use primarily American oak here. After that is a process known as fining, and this is where we're clarifying the wine, making it clear, removing any sort of impurities or sediments. So we use a substance known as bentonite clay. So it's a powder that we sprinkle on top, and it sort of settles down to the bottom of the tank. And as it's settling, it's picking up any sort of impurities or sediments, and those are also settling on the bottom. And then we're pumping it through a filter. And the reason the filter is actually interesting. So it's a bunch of paper filters lined throughout, similar to like coffee filters. Yeah.
Oh.
And what we're doing there is we're just making sure that we're removing any residual yeast that hasn't eaten any sugar. And then we do that because we don't want the wine to continue fermenting after we bottle it, because that can create problems, pressure problems. After we filter, we rinse bottles, so we don't want to put our nice filtered and pure, clear, fine wine into dirty bottles. So we rinse them, and then we fill them, label, cork and then label, and then it's ready for you to enjoy. The white wine making process is very similar. So we go from the crusher, but we skip this first fermentation. So we're going crusher to the press. We don't worry about skin contact with white wine, because the skin contact is what adds the pigmentation. So we're just pressing and then doing a straight up fermentation. After we're done fermenting, we can do some barrel aging. We don't do barrel aging with our whites here because we want our whites to retain that crispness, which you would lose in the barrel aging. And after that, it's pretty much the same process. Any questions?
No.
白葡萄酒和
红葡萄的区别，对对，
挺清楚的。
挺好的，挺清楚，挺完整。
要不要简单说一下？
他说的挺好的。
他们也会有冰酒吗？
这是冰酒啊？
不是，
这不是冰酒吗？
不是。
It's ice wine.
We do have a dessert wine that we will finish with. It's actually made with apples.
哦，他只做冰苹果。
哦，那冰苹果也可以。冰苹果是不是也可以尝？
可以。
他们不做冰葡萄，只做冰苹果。
Can we
So
take picture of the
Yeah, for sure.
alcohol? So
Is it better if it's up here?
yeah.
So before we actually get to drinking the wine, we'll do a bit of wine tasting 101. So there are 3 senses we're engaging when we're wine tasting: sight, smell, and taste. So first, we always want to look at the wine and make sure it's nice and clean. You can sort of tell from this one, it's very clean. You can see through it. There's no impurities. This is an important step because it will sort of give you a clue as to what you're drinking. So you can tell this one very clear, very light, doesn't really hang on the glass at all.
Yeah.
So that tells you.
Hang on, glasses sugar.
Yeah, or alcohol actually. Alcohol. So yeah, that's known as the legs of the wine. If it really hangs, it sort of starts to drip down.
Yeah.
You can sort of tell from this one that it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So this is telling you this is a lighter bodied wine.
Yeah.
The next thing we want to do is engage. We're going to smell. So you want to agitate the wine. So if you set it on the counter and just swirl it around like that,
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're releasing volatile chemicals that you'll then be able to smell, and you'll get a true indication of the wine's aroma. And that again will give you hints as to what you're going to be tasting. So you may be picking up some like lighter citrus notes,
Yeah.
grapefruit, maybe some beach grass. So that can give you a bit of a clue as to what you're going to be tasting, that this is going to be a crisp, acidic, light wine. And then from there, you're ready to taste. So the first sip is always going to be a palate cleanser. You may have just brushed your teeth, had a coffee. That's still going to be on your palate. So the first sip's going to sort of remove that. The second sip is going to be more of an indication of what the wine tastes. And when you're tasting wine, you sort of slurping is encouraged. You want to get as much oxygen in your mouth as possible when you're drinking, as that will give, similar to when you're smelling the wine, it will sort of agitate those volatile chemicals that you can then taste, and it'll give you a better clue as to what you're drinking. So let me explain what you're drinking.
Yeah.
As this is our L'Acadie Blanc. So L'Acadie is the signature white grape of Nova Scotia. That's the variety. So it's a French-American hybrid.
French American.
It is very crisp, light, and acidic, similar to Sauvignon Blanc if you've ever had that. It's ideal for hot summer days, so by all means, enjoy. And I'll go through it with you as well. So the first sip, just a normal palate cleansing sip. You kind of want to swirl it around your mouth a little bit just to get your mouth used to how the wine feels. And then the second sip, you want to go.
甜度是酸一些啊。
这杯酒都不是特别甜，可能日照不是特别。
So you may have noticed sort of swirling around your mouth, it's kind of hitting you back here a little bit. That's the acidity. Maybe making you salivate. It's sort of activating your salivary glands. And then if you want to also do any tasting, there's one for you. So you just wanted to do white wines? Because I could do 2 whites and 2 reds if you're interested.
Okay. So you can recommend the better one, and I will promote.
Sure. So what did you think of that one?
Tidy Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do Tidal Bay.
Yeah. It's of course. So it's very famous in
Yeah.
Nova Scotia.
So I will explain Tidal Bay a little bit for you guys. And also, if there's nothing you don't really care for, by all means, feel free to just pour it in there.
醒酒.
Don't be offended.
Yeah.
So have you been to any other wineries? Because you're familiar with Tidal Bay.
Yeah, because the tourists of Canada and produce.
Okay. So this is Nova Scotia's appellation wine. So similar to how Champagne can only be made in Champagne, France, Tidal Bay can only be made here in Nova Scotia. Just like there are rules that sort of govern how Champagne can be made, the same goes for Tidal Bay. So with Tidal Bay, we want something that's cool, crisp, light, not too sweet.
不是很甜。
There are 11 different title bays, so there are 11 different wineries making a title bay. They're all blended whites. Ours is a blend of Lacadie, Céval, Vidal, Ortega, and New York Muscat. The New York Muscat is the primary aromatic. It's going to come through on the nose. It's slightly tropical. I'll just pour that for you.
Okay, thank you.
And then a piece over here as well. Sort of the criteria that they're looking for, whether or not this is Title Bay or whether it's not. It isn't. So what they do is they taste the wine and they say this fits what Title Bay is supposed to be. This can be Title Bay.
Yeah.
Or this doesn't fit what Title Bay is supposed to be. This isn't Title Bay.
Some areas fruit is they will taste or they will give the name?
They're part of the Winery Association of Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So they get some sommeliers who do the tastings and people like that. I mean, one of the rules that's really interesting about Title Bay is it has to go out with seafood.
Yeah.
So they're looking for a little bit of acidity present in the wine. They don't want a lot of residual sugar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
这个还行，这个还挺
这个比较香。
这个葡萄味好香啊，
这个的那个果香，
这还是挺好喝的。
比刚才那个，
你好像挺酸的啊。这还挺好，就是很香。对。So how much it is?
This one is 18.
Yeah.
This one is 20. And let me get my wine list here and I can tell you the prices. So these are the two whites that we're trying today. So the Lacadie Blanc, which is 18, and the Title Bay, which is 20.
Off dry.
So this is dry. You notice there wasn't any residual sugar. It was purely acidic, and it was hitting you back here. There is some sugar here, so this is more off dry.
So the dry means a little bit sour.
It refers to sugar level. So when you're saying dry, there's no sugar. When we're off dry, there is some sugar present. So yeah, like
off dry is no sugar.
No, off dry is there's some sugar.
Some sugar.
Yeah.
哦，
它就是干红半干，是这个意思。
哦，
它就是指它里面那个色，对那个。
And then we'll do some reds as well. So I'll pour for you the Vintners Reserve Liamio. So this one right here, and that one's 20 as well as our Vintners Reserve Castel. Just because I did explain the red making wine process to you, so we'll try some. So this is a lighter bodied red. When we're ready for it, I'll pour it for you. And this is a full bodied red. And then for dessert, I'm going to pour for you the Pomme d'Or Ice Cider, which is $24.50.
这是红酒。
好，然后因为我们有这个是代表新斯科舍省的酒，如果大家来到新斯科舍省的话呢，
一定要选择
对，会品尝一下潮汐湾。
有好多款。
对，
它可能不同的酒庄都有自己的潮汐湾，对，它会因为这个是代表新斯科舍省，所以呢会建议说大家如果想要选择一瓶酒带回去，可以选择潮汐湾的酒。来新斯科舍省的时候，可以多品尝几款酒，因为这边酒庄很丰富，葡萄资源也很丰富。好了，那我们给大家介绍的关于新斯科舍省的酒就在这里啦。